Well, I'm delighted today to have, as part of our 10 Minutes With series, the celebrated chef, Bobby Chinn, who is an international chef, TV presenter, restaurateur, and cookbook author. Bob is also a culinary celebrity across Asia and the Middle East, thanks to his role and host of Discovery's TLC's World Cafe, and also currently is a judge on NBC's Middle East Top Chef. Welcome, Bobby.
Why, thank you for having me.
So what do you think, your path thus far, how has it enabled you to tap into your sort of inner mentoring, or anyone that is notable growing up or in your current career, people around you that have helped dig deep and to be the leader you are today, the inspiration you are today to women and men across the globe, notably in Asia and the Middle East, I think, where you have quite a large reach and quite a large audience. What do you think has been your most sort of celebrated achievement to date in terms of how you've been inspired thus far?
Well, I was thinking about it because as a kid, when I became the captain of the rugby team, usually that was reserved for an English gentleman. And that came at a very young age. And I think that I think that in sports, for me, it was about leading by example, doing the thing that would be the normal thing to do, as well as the not so normal thing to do, the extraordinary thing to do, to think outside the box. And I think that inspires others of your behavior on the pitch and off the pitch, which I think is really important. When I became the captain, my mother told me, says, well, we have it in our blood. We're just natural leaders. If you go with horoscope, Aries people are usually like, we've got to run, got to get there. Dragon and the Asian calendar are the same thing. My grandfather was a very famous general, modernized the Egyptian army. So I was exposed to that. But I don't think it's natural. I think that it's learned. And I think that what one does is looks around and says, how do I want to be treated? How does one want to be treated, and how to connect? And I think that about leadership, it's about speaking with passion and confidence. That's really critical, to be really firm in your belief and unwavering, like there is no plan B, right? That we're going for this. And to inspire people around you. I don't think that there's a silver bullet where all, one glove fits all. I think that for each situation, for each individual, it's how does one motivate that individual to give, to impart, to be able to impart your values, your ideas to them and make them believe it. So as an example, when I look back at leadership, I didn't have any qualifications. You graduate into the position. And so one of the things I did is I hired the former general director of Ford Motors Vietnam. I can't afford the general director of Ford Motors Vietnam. She had to believe in me. She had to have liked me. She had to kind of sit there and say, you know what, I want to help you, because I could never pay her what she was worth. But she worked with me, and I had a mentor below me, as far as titles are concerned. But it's that type of respect that I was able to give a person that's like, I trust you. I'm not going to interfere in what you do. That's a good leader sometimes. Don't interfere. You hire people that are better than you, and you let them do what they do, and they tell you what to do. There's some like that. There are some that need a challenge. There's some that you say, listen, I want you to run this for me. I have full faith in you, right? Yeah. The bottom line is that people believed in me. They trusted me. They liked me, and they didn't want to disappoint me. And I think that is what a good leader does. And I'm constantly learning. So when it came to mentoring, one of the things I did is that there was a young kid who's a shoe shine boy, and some person came in and says, this kid's a good kid. He wants to get a job. And I blew him off for 3 times in a row. He showed up, and I didn't have the time for him. And I thought, what an asshole am I not to respect this kid's time? And he never worked in a building before. He worked outside his entire life. He came from a small village. And I said, I'm going to make you the manager. And he laughed. And what I did is I taught someone that had no skills and taught him everything that I had. I shared with him my knowledge. I explained to him the reasoning behind how we do things and why we do things a certain way. What that did is it showed everybody else in the team, right, that a non-skilled individual can achieve incredible things if they have the right attitude and if you motivate them. Exactly. So, yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of like, little things, anecdotes that I think. Can I tell you about my WO?
Please go ahead.
Generally, I'm a bit of a sexist. With all due respect, I hired mostly women. And if you hire mostly women, I find, with all due respect, and some men as well, but honestly, I found them really loyal to me, and I empowered them. The only danger of hiring a lot of women is the cycle gets closer to one time period.
We're talking biology here.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
I think it's important because these are things that we don't talk about. Well, God damn it, it's my business, it's my company. I feel I should talk about whatever I feel affects the operation, right? Because that's the most important thing. And so I hired this young girl. She was American, Jewish, from Harvard. So when you talk about rights, she'll be the first to tell you you're out of line.
Yeah.
And so she was managing my calendar. And she says, Bobby, I got a question for you. Every 22 days, there's 1 week of this symbol called WO. And I'm looking like, oh my gosh, it's coming close to WO. And I said, well, take a look around you. And she looked and she says, oh my God, are you monitoring your staff cycle? I said, absolutely. Yes, I am. And she says, how dare you? I said, what? When it comes to the WO day, when we order flowers for the restaurant, we order extra for all the staff. So when they come into work, right, I'm extra simpatico. And you have a WO day, which is if you got cramps or you're upset or you decide to quit with no intention of quitting that day, then by all means, take the day off, right? I had policies like don't work on your birthday and don't work the day after your birthday, and here's some money. So don't come on a hangover 2 days later, all right? There are kind of things. So I kind of like felt that I was empathic towards some of the issues that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
That's a connection to understand that. And I thought that was really kind of important. Those are like little things that I felt really proud of.
Well, that's extraordinary. I haven't heard about that before. As you've raised the gender point, I was going to ask you about, do you see a difference between female and male leadership and the effect it's had on you growing up or in your current career? You mentioned your mother, you mentioned your grandfather back in the day, historically, but currently as a leader in your field, I would say, do you find empathy plays a big part in how leadership is developed?
Yes, I think it's critical. And I think women should be leaders. I've given up on men a long time ago. I've seen history and they haven't done anything really that amazing as far as saving things, right? I mean, my grandfather had three daughters, and he's quoted often about those 3 daughters can do the work of 1,000 men. Okay. So I was not brought up to ever think that women were second-class citizens to me. And to the contrary, they're my heroines, my heroes, have been. In the culinary world, men are inspired by women and want to cook like women. Somehow the ego gets involved too often. So I'm all for it. And I always empowered them because I always felt that they wouldn't be empowered by my competitor. By me empowering women, made women who worked with me a hell of a lot better, right? They have empathy. They sympathize. They care. In the hospitality industry, that's critical. You can make a terrible waiter a friendly person. A friendly person can be made a really great waiter, but you can't make a waiter a friendly person. If you don't have that in you, then forget it. So I just think that just biologically, women have the advantage, quite frankly. Somehow men still rule the world, but if I were to invest, I would invest in female leadership 9 times out of 10.
That's very refreshing to hear that. Given our audience today are very interested in developing their leadership skills and perhaps becoming a mentor or perhaps becoming a mentee for the first time, what would you deem the most important characteristics of being an excellent mentor?
It's caring. You're not doing it because you just want to impart your values and culture. You're doing it because you care for the individual. You want them to succeed. That is why you do hospitality. You do it because you want to nurture somebody. You do it because you want to give, you want to share. The money is crap for the amount of hours and the headaches that you have. You're doing it because that act alone makes us human. And if there's anyone that I would, mentor, it's because I want to help them. And by me helping them, they will help me. And that's a reflection. And if you can impart that as a culture in your organization, then you got a great organization because together each achieves more.
Exactly. So if you look at your sort of path retrospectively in terms of your education, you've changed career paths a couple of times. Is there a right age to become a mentor or to become a mentee? What would you tell your younger self would be the prime time, the prime age for, seeking out a mentor? What kind of mentor should you seek? If you're a woman, should you try to find a female mentor? Do you have any tips and advice for our listeners on your own sort of personal perspectives?
I don't like to put timeframes on anything. I think that the issue is so a lot of people think it's too late to be a mentor, to be mentored, or what have you. It's never too late. That's why they invented death. Death is too late. So I look at at the mentorship, and when you're ready to commit, when you're ready and you feel that it's in you and you want to do it, it's a need. It's not a want. It's literally, I want to do this. I need to do this for me as much as it for you. And it's a win-win. And when you think win-win, it's a game changer. It's not like I have to win all the time. I don't mind losing. I'm not a fan of losing, right? But no, seriously, because you're not going to win them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to accept that. I think something that I learned when I was in London, because when I went to do the House of Ho, due to my English education and due to the time that I had it, and because I went to the public school boy system, it was very common to get no in every way, shape, or form except no. We don't do that here. Mate, this is not Vietnam. These types of things. And what I needed is I wanted to be better. I wanted to be a better boss. I wanted to be a better manager. I wanted to be a better chef. And so I seeked advice. I continue to do my best. I'm a work in progress. Okay. This is not the final thing, right? I will continue to grow.
Yeah.
And I did a thing called neurofeedback, otherwise known as brain optimization, where they kind of put electrodes on your brain and they tell you, oh, you're creative. You process too much. You should slow down on things, right? You're revved up too high. And to find out why we make the decisions that we make, what inspired you to do that? And you're going to find out, well, at least I did, that a lot of my decisions were emotionally driven. They're rationalized emotions. And a lot of my emotions weren't necessarily healthy.
Yeah.
And I found that at the end of this whole thing, the guy was telling me what my core values are, which is very interesting because when I started doing television and I became a little bit more well-known in Asia, everyone said, dude, you're a brand. The funny thing is that though the brands that these guys came up without any input from me were the exact same values that I had in what we were discovering, mapping out my brain. And I felt that what I got out of it is that do it for love. If you do it for love, you're never working. So find the 3 things that you're really good at and then apply that. And that's what it is. So I care is one of my core values. So I care for others. That's why that's why I'm a chef. I want to feed you good food. I want to make it healthy. I don't want to have pesticide riddled cuisine. I don't really want to kill a lot of animals. And, you'll see a lot more whole food, plant-based items on one of my menus,
That's fascinating, Bobby. And finally, I think What would be your top 3 tips and advice for those who are seeking to jump up in their careers, those perhaps going into tertiary education, going to do an MBA? What kind of advice would you give them to help catapult their careers, maybe for women who are going back to work after extended maternity leave? What's your top 3 tips to help them sort of elevate themselves and to catapult themselves into their careers, or to amplify themselves from the cultural baggage that you mentioned when you were in the public school system in England? How can they sort of help themselves to forge ahead in their careers?
Really, I think you got to be at peace with yourself, to find that space inside your heart and in your head to be absolutely chilled, to be zen, to react to the situations that you'll be confronted with. A lot of people got baggage. They're going to lay their baggage onto you. And it's like, not my circus, not my monkeys, not participating. Thank you very much. It's to be chilled and to be kind of like walk into any situation, say, I'm cool with who I am and I'm happy with that. And that is really, to me, really important, because that's attitude. So when you got the attitude, right, to go in, meditate before you go in, breathe, empty out the mind. And I think that is critical in performance and in growth, because you're not too busy calculating and processing and all that stuff. I don't know the other 2. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just do the one thing that gets you there. That's it. I think it's being at peace with yourself. You don't have to do 3 things. It's one thing, and do it right.
Bobby Chinn, as part of Gazette Advisory Group and a Saham Woman, thank you so much for a little over 10 minutes with. Thank you so much.